I don't know what you've been told, but I don't know why I feel so fly. I love the skin I'm in. I am intelligent. Oh, how great does it feel to wake up and know that I'm real? I don't have to pretend my friends.
Hello everyone, today I'm here with singer, songwriter and guitarist Saul Paul, who's based in Austin in Texas. He's our Week 5 Global Music Match Focus Artist. How are you doing, Saul Paul?
I'm well. Tad hungry, but I'm well.
You are extremely busy right now. Despite it being lockdown, despite COVID, you're a musician who have kept on going. You've been doing Zoom shows since March, you've released an album, you've been doing countless other things. What has it been like this year?
2/3 of what I do is like I'm a tour. I'm a road warrior. Like I tour. That's what I do. I live on the road. When we spoke last time, like you mentioned, like what you mentioned the sentiment that I can relate to. Like I find my identity being out and about and amongst people, and I love it. Whether it was 4 people, 40 people, 400 or 4,000, like I just like being around people, understanding and being in different spaces. I get my me time and my self-care there. But people have always told me, I went from like no shows years ago, right, to like heavily in demand. And then it was crazy how people crazy. I'm gonna start a lot of t-shirts that say #people crazy. I think I'll make more money doing that than anything else because like people can relate. But yeah, people crazy. So people will be like, I bet you get tired, like, man, living out of a suitcase and always flying to a different place and doing this and doing that. But I never did. And they were like, well, you can't do it forever. When will you change? And I'm like, Willie Nelson, who's like my idol, who's like who I look up to. I'm like, this dude's like 80 plus, and pre-COVID, this dude was on tour every weekend. I'm like, you're trying to tell me I need to slow down? I'm like, when he stops, then I'll start to think about it. And or when I get his age, then I'll think about it. So I got a lot of time. And then March 6th came. I remember the dates. Like March 6th when they canceled South by Southwest. And then no one knows what COVID-19, COVID Corona is at this point. And so we're like, oh, I can't believe they canceled. And then the next week, the world caught up. Like, and then everything shut down. And they were like, 1, they're smart. 2, whoa, this is different. And then like March 20th, I was like, okay. I thought I had another like 40, 50 years. But it's here now. I need to figure out what does life look like now that I can't travel and tour. And so I made that pivot. I didn't know what it would be like, but it has been more pleasant than I thought. Like, especially me, because I'm big on the live piece. Like, not only do I like it, people like me in a live setting. But I figured out how to translate that to live stream. And so I've been busy.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, I do miss being with people though. Like this is the first time I've like, I don't know. I like to use the sports example. It's like, in America we have football. It's really any sport, but like pick an actual athlete that's really good and they play for a long time, 20 years, they do this thing. And so they're rich and they're successful and they won, blah, 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 who cares, right? And then they retire and maybe they get a job as a sports announcer. And it's like, and they get paid a bunch of money for that. But I feel this person now, they're like, I don't care that I get paid to talk about sports. I want to like play the sport. And I don't care that I made the transition and da-da-da. I'm like, I like to be around people and connect, and that part's not here.
And saying that, you not only perform, but you also talk and you advocate on behalf of young people, and you're a huge advocate for social justice and for progressive policies. And I think that you are not just an artist, but you are an activist, and that we'll get onto that later. But I think for my audience here, I'd love for you to kind of just quickly define your music. I mean, your music defies categorization, as you've said, and it does explore several genres. Each album is very different, and even the songs on each album vary in style. It's very refreshing, and you just don't know what you're going to get when you hit Saul Paul on shuffle on Spotify. You have no clue what's going to come up.
That's a quote that'll pop up somewhere else and like dash.
Totally.
That's a good way to say it. You don't know what you're gonna get.
You don't know what you're going to get, but your music has been described in many different ways, all positive, I assure you. But how do you describe the music? How do you define the music that you make?
I describe myself as a musician with the message. Like that's what I sum it all up as. Like I'm a musician with the message. Period. Mic drop. Walk away. And now if we come back to it, then I'm like, cool. I worked hard to get to the point to not have to pick a box. You know, like when I started off as an artist, they're like pick a box. Like there's like no entry until you pick a box. So are you a rapper? Are you a singer-songwriter? Are you a children's artist? Are you what are you? And I'm like, I got this joke like dope. I'm just dope. Like dope sells. But again, I'm at the point now to when it's like, yeah, like I mean, I'm on this other side, but yeah, I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter. I describe myself as a musician with a message. Yeah, I've had success in every genre that I've dabbled, every genre that I participate in. So I take pride in that. Like, yeah, you know, from like songs. It blew my mind when I had a song that got on radio, Sirius XM.
Yeah.
And like it was on the charts for 19 weeks and peaked at #1. That was on my album.
You've taken what I was away to say, Saul Paul.
Oh.
So what I was away to say was you've had a stellar career so far with 2 very popular songs climbing the charts, becoming #1 on Sirius XM, in 2019, one of which songs stayed on the chart for over 18 weeks, 19 weeks. You said that is a huge success in its own right, amongst other things. Yeah. What is your earliest musical experience? I mean, I'd love to talk about this, how you got into music. At what point did you realize that you wanted to be this artist with this message? Was music always the plan for you? I'd love to know. And you know what, if you want to just give me a little song sometime in there, then just feel free to, because I think
I just like to use it. It's like my security blanket.
Armrest.
That's an armrest. Yeah. Plus, when you asked that question, it made me think about my earliest interaction with music was as a child. I had like this little like faux guitar, like I guess maybe a children's guitar. I don't know what it was. I didn't know how to play it, but it was always in the house. There was always a guitar. My grandmother raised me, and yeah, there was always music in the house. She was playing gospel music. I grew up listening to hip hop music and was enamored with the storytelling. But yeah, it's funny because I play guitar, and that's kind of unique coming from where I come from. People in my neighborhood, people in my community, the guitar is not the go-to instrument. And so me playing guitar always stands out, and people and then why? Well, really, I'm a songwriter. Like, that's just what I do. I think genre, I get the nuances of a genre, but at the core, I mean, you could write a song and you in folk, and then you put drums on it. Then they call it hip hop. You strip the drums away and you elongate the delivery, and then they call it R&B. And I've always seen it's always about the song though. It was always about the
that is exactly what you said when you were quoted as saying, "If things don't stand up with just an acoustic guitar and vocals, I don't think they're worth of recording."
Yeah. That's what I like. That's why when I fell in love, when I discovered the guitar, like, whoa, because it really puts the focus back on the lyrics and the song. And me, I put to me, that's the most important part. And so it's cool to, sometimes you have to dress, I feel like you have to dress things up sometimes to attract people in. But I also like to strip things away so that you can put the focus just on the story, on the song. And me, I have stories to tell. And I've lived a unique life. I'm excited to be on this side of it. And yeah, I'm just telling stories. So.
And at what point did you think, you know what, I'm going to do this professionally? This is what I'm going to do. It's no longer, something of the childhood, the kitchen, the fireside. This is something I'm going to pursue as my career. At what point did that come about?
I had some friends, I have this thing where I'm known for making up improvisational songs on the spot. I do with words what jazz musicians do with instruments, like just improvise. And so I never took it serious. I didn't take it light, but I was like, yeah, I just have fun. And some friends invited me to the studio, and they told me to write a verse. I didn't know what a verse was. You know, they're like 16 bars. I'm like, what's a bar? 16 measures. I remember it was a big deal. Like it was like a big deal, and I never got it, but I ended up writing the verse, and I wrote the verse, and it literally felt like it was that moment. I was like, whoa, this is weird. I think I might be born to do this. Like it was so rare. It was supernatural. So that was the moment, and I'm big on purpose and destiny. I was like, oh, so I need to do this, and that was as a young adult. Like I'm so inspired by you because I know, like you're young and you're making boss moves already and doing great things, and you're only 22. I was like 20. I was maybe 24 when I discovered, oh, like I'm good in music. So like I guess that would be considered late, but it didn't matter. I think it actually benefited me because I always approached it different. And I was like, well, no, this is what I want to do. And then I saw a lot of foolish practices that were involved because I came late. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Uh, and so I never did those things. And it also felt good. It also was good that I was rejected initially because I was different. So then I never got to learn. I never learned a lot of bad stuff to unlearn, like musically, like music practices and whatnot. So yeah, that's when I was. I remember the song they asked me to write was 19, like counting down in that 99, which, you know, I don't know if on the other side of the pond they thought this, but in America in 1999, everybody thought the world was going to end because like the clocks and this whole weird thing. So it was a big deal. Like, what are we going to do? The clocks only go like, and so they wrote a song called Counting Down at 99. And that was the first verse I ever wrote. And
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That is amazing. I mean, in 1999, I was 1 year old, so I can't remember any of that drama, but I'm sure I know people who did. But that is really, really cool. And for you, the goal is to create something timeless. And I think that is really what you do. I mean, we've already been over the quote, you know, saying if it doesn't stand out with guitar and vocals, it's not worth recording. And I do think that says a lot about your integrity as a musician in itself. And I think your songs do edge on protest music. It is protest music, it is folk music, and your songs deal with several issues, and I think they're extremely accessible. And I think with a lot of folk and traditional music, the narrative and the story is the most important, especially to me. This is quite vague, but we've touched on this before, but what is the most important element of a song to you? The element in it, what is the most important bit of the song, part of the song, element of the song? What do you think?
I need clarification. You mean like, are we talking about like musical instrumentation, or are we talking about chorus, verse, bridge?
Musical interpretation, I'd say. What's the most important kind of bit?
Rhythm.
Rhythm.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've discovered like rhythm encompasses many things. Maybe 10 years ago I would have said beat because that's what I thought rhythm was until like I sing a song acoustically and like there's no beat, but there's still a rhythm because of like just like even like imagine syncopation. I like to play with what's not there. A pause is as prominent as a actual note. So yeah, just that unique rhythms. That's the most important part. Well,
I think a lot
that part is important.
No, your songs are super catchy, and that kind of makes sense because a lot of them, like I find myself like bopping along to, and they get kind of stuck in your head. And definitely rhythm, beat, whatever you want to call it, definitely shines through in a lot of your music. I love that. So this year we've already said you're super busy. Like, I mean, having an album launched during COVID is quite a different thing. And you've recently released your latest album, Be the Change, which people can get on pretty much every online distributor. It's out everywhere. I'm aware that the album has been received extremely well so far. It's had some good successes and it's charted on some radio playlists already. we are in a very different world now as opposed to maybe how an album launch would go a year ago. Without touring and structures in place which would usually support an album launch, how have you found releasing an album in lockdown in the COVID world? How has it been?
I think it's played to my strengths. Like, it's so unique. I think I might have had my first album release party, and this is like my eighth album. Uh, but I've always done it different, and so yeah, it's really played to the strengths. Uh, how to say? I guess that's it. Period. If is the cup half empty or is the cup half full? It's always half full. I have this unique story. It's a blur. I'm hungry. I don't even know if we talked about it. I've had a show, I've had an interview, and now this. I don't know. I don't want to be redundant, but I'll make the point like myself. I grew up in the ghetto here in America. I grew up in Houston, in one of the many famous ghettos. It was stereotypical, and that's sad because like my dad wasn't there. I had a mother that was deceased. I was in foster care, but I had an amazing grandmother who swooped in like Wonder Woman, and she raised me, and I'm her legacy. She's why I do what I do. I grew up poor. I like to say, this is one of my songs. I say I grew up poor. I grew up poor when I didn't even know it. Because when we lacked dough, she didn't even show it. Like I knew I was poor, but
That's really sweet.
yeah, you might be able to relate to it. Like a lot of people too, they relate to it. Like if you're around other people and everybody's the same, then you don't feel a certain way, right? Like I grew up poor, but I didn't feel poor because everybody else is poor, so it's just regular. It's like if somebody
Yeah.
had something, it's like they might be rich, but we're not poor. So we were so poor, we were very very poor. But my grandmother would give people, like people would come to our house. I remember playing video games and I'd be bothered because I have to go answer the door because somebody would come and want some, like, and she'd call me to go like get the food for them and give it to them. And it's funny because I look back and I see how that impacted me, how it influenced me. But all that to say, um, I know what it's like to be oppressed. I know what it's like to be overlooked. I know what it's like to be rejected. I know what it's like to be left out. I know what it's like to want something but not have the resources to do it. And now, like the pandemic treated everybody the same, meaning it screwed everybody. And so
Yeah.
now there's no more advantages. Like before, people had advantages. So me being the last, it's kind of so. And this is what I would always tell the underdog. This is when, like, dude, it's anybody's game now. Before, like, it didn't feel fair. Like, I've had to, like, scrap to do everything that I've done. And so now that, like, the pandemic equalized everybody, well, now we're not actually equal. I'm kind of ahead because I know how to hustle. I know how to do this. Like, so other people are like, what do we do? What do we do? And I'm like,
Yeah, and you've been industrious and forward thinking and working with limited resources the whole time. So
yeah,
perhaps this isn't really too new of a thing to you because you've had to think on your head and find your own resources and pave your own way. And I think that makes you all the more full of, you should be so proud of yourself coming from a really difficult situation and really making something of yourself. And of course, we have at Global Music Match, we've had the lovely opportunity to get to know you, but also Bianca, and she is wonderful. And the team that you surround yourself with, they really believe in you. Is that right?
yeah. Yeah, it's about team. I figured that piece out. I'm a very dynamic, I don't know, I'm an independent artist, and I realize my situation is unique, but actually for other independent artists, like they can relate. Maybe not the same background, but it's like, dude, so we have the advantage if we see it. But what I figured out as well is like I thought I could do everything, uh, and then I realized, I've been doing this for a while, and I realized like a good team is better than just a great person, and that's
Yeah.
really hard when people are great, like because there are great people out there. People that are just like, I remember people used to be like, "Who did your website? Your website's awesome. Who did your website?" I'm like, "I did." Your graphics are great. Who did your fly? Like, I did. Your press release is great. Then somebody emailed me like, who does your press? Like, I do. Like, your tour was awesome. Like, who did that? Like, I do. Like, I did it all, and I'm like, 'cause I can do it all. And then I realized like, yeah, but I can do it all, but I can only do so much. But if I build like the right people around me, if I recruit the right people, now we can do more. And so yeah, Bianca, she's awesome. She's been down from day one. We've always had the same vision, and the vision was to be the change, be change makers, and make other people's lives better. And it's cool because she likes music, I make music, and so like there was no overlap there, and it was like it's a great partnership. And then we recruit other people that have the same mission, which is like, okay, let's go be the change, not like let's make an awesome music career. But luckily, I got a lot of pride, so I'm like, no, I think I just want to be the best at it, and so that keeps me motivated. Like, no, I came to kill a game. That's what I came to do. Like, everything you tell me I can't do, I will do. I'm a rapper, but I can't be in folk. Okay, well, then I learn how to play the guitar so I can be in folk. Then,
Will you give us a tiny bit of song right now?
Yes. What shall we do?
Something really folky, something super folky, because I know that my audience are going to go and listen to you, but I'm sure they would love to hear something on your more acousticy side right now. Maybe, you know what? It's up to you. Whatever.
No, thank you. That's great direction. You know your tribe. If they listen to my latest album, they should listen to the different genres that I dabble in. I do them all well, but they're different and diverse. But The Quilt is a great song with my good friend Red Yarn. There's another song called Stardust on the Be the Change album. That's
my favorite one, Stardust. Yeah. I've got that later on in my notes, but yes, okay. Stardust, yeah, I love
Stardust. It. And then I do this song called Rise.
I love this one with the violin, with the fiddle. Yeah, it's exactly. Gorgeous.
Thank you. I was like, I can't. Yeah, I want to collaborate with you. Your voice is gorgeous. So it was like Ed Sheeran. I don't know. Like I forget. I could look it up. I know the word, but it reminded me of some things, and I was like, oh snap, yeah. So, but anyway, I do Rise on my album. There's a violin version of this one. I dedicate this to everyone that's listening. Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is our time for you to shine. Yeah, said rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is our time for you to shine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was expecting more. Sorry, I was enjoying that so much. So I was like, don't stop.
Yeah, I could do the verse. Yeah, I like to, I don't know. Rise to the moment, rise to the occasion. Open your eyes, recognize there's greatness. Within your reach, you should seize it, you should take it. Can you see it? Can you taste it? Destiny. Hard work and a plan, that's a recipe for success that'll launch you where them blessings be. The road to riches, though, that's where them testers be. But I ain't tripping, knowing how us Texans be. A lot of pride, plus a lot of confidence. And my job is to see what is not obvious as a pioneer, an entrepreneur. So I'ma work it out till it's smoother than velour, for sure. See, I'm gonna make it to the finish line. I got my second win. Now it's finish time. It's like spinach time. And I am Popeye. Stop short? No, not I. Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is our time for you to shine. Yeah, say rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is our time for you to shine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel good. You know why? Even Woody sat up on that. I was like, I must be doing a thing. Like the first time the whole interview, Woody's like, what's going on? What's going on? That's cool.
Yeah, he's a little bit small. I was like, yeah, he's set up for that. No, I just think it just sounds great. I love that song. I mean, it's gorgeous with the fiddle, but it's gorgeous without as well. So I'm just wondering, your album features some super catchy tunes. As I said before, Stardust was like the one that kind of stood out with me. Um, what's your writing process? Do you just write alone? Do you write with other people? I mean, you collaborate with other projects, yeah, but what's your main kind of writing process?
Shout out to Shelly, our Team 5 Global Music Match teammate. We did a co-write yesterday. I was ready to do an interview, and she was like, I thought we were writing a song. I was like, no, but okay, we're here, let's do it. And so we wrote a song. It was awesome. So Zoom co-write. Yeah, my process personally is most start with the guitar. Like I'll play around till I find something to speak. Well, a couple different ways. I'll play around till I find something that speaks, and then I'll write to that. Like, what do I hear when I hear this? When I hear these sounds, these chords, this progression. Or I'm very purposeful. I like to feel like a sniper when it comes to songwriting. Like, what do I want to speak to? And then I think about that. And then I think of a clever way, a creative way to say it. I also think about who my audience is because I'm so diverse. Like, cool. Like, just like when you said, I love your feedback, you were like, cool. Like, this is my audience. You should do a more folky song, right? But that's how I write. That's how I create to myself. Like, who am I writing this song for? Okay, no, it's gonna be like for this community. I don't say like. I just got off of a call. Yeah, I won't talk about that. Like, I write for this community. I'm like, no, it's gonna be for the kids. But then, like, kids are different. Like, kids might be affluent and have a different culture and community. They might be from a disadvantaged community, and so I understand the languages of the communities that I speak to, and then I figure out what I want to say, and then I address it in the nuances of that culture so that it's also true to me. I always look at it three things. Like, I want to, yeah. Well, I want to please myself. I need to like, I think I'm my own biggest fan. I just listen to my own stuff. Like when you say Stardust, I'm like, Stardust is kind of like my favorite. I'm like, this song is just, so I want to please myself, make sure that I make something that I like. And I also think, I'm not the artist who's like, I just do it for me only. I'm like, if that's the case, I don't need to record it. I should just play by myself in the studio. I think about what it's going to look like when I perform it. I think that's also what really helps me. I don't think about like what it'll be like when people listen to it. I think about what it'll be like when I perform it.
That's
It
really
goes back to like, oh, I don't get to go be around people, but I'm thinking like, oh, on this part they're going to do this, or I want them to do that, or so yeah.
So you're based in Austin, in Texas, and I believe Austin is a little bit of a hotbed for the music community. So it's a good music community.
Yeah.
What's it like
You're in the
living
ballad
there?
capital of the world. I'm in the live music capital of the world.
Well, what's it like living there in Austin? How has living there influenced your musical development?
It's why I play this guitar because like live music is so live. You know, like some of the greatest artists, like or MCs, hip hop or whatever. But the way that that's set up is you get a track and then you write to it. It's not live, and people were condescending at first, years and years and years ago. And I was like, well, I want to learn how to play a live instrument. And I fell in love with the live instrument, and I never put it down. And I ended up creating my own thing. That's why I'm so different. So it definitely influenced me like that. It's great because the city is supportive. Like it really is. It really is a music town. That's why they branded themselves. We branded ourselves as the live music capital of the world. Now I can hear all the haters. The haters will be like, yeah, but musicians don't make money here. There is an issue, and there is an issue, but it's hard, right? On the other side of the pond, and like it's like how will we make money as a musician? It's just highlighted here because it's like, dude, like we're known as a music city. Musicians should probably be able to make like a fair living. My approach has always been a little bit different because my favorite artists, I know earlier you told me some of yours like Bob Dylan, Taylor Swift, Casey Musgrave, and whatnot, right? They don't make a living. Casey Musgrave's from Texas. She's like, you're in you're in the UK, Glasgow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're in Glasgow and you know an artist from Texas. Like, I hate when artists act like, dude, they need to support me in this city. I'm like, the artists that inspire us are not like, Willie Nelson is from Austin, but he's on tour across the world. He's not like, I need people in Austin to buy tickets and come to my show. Like, it's like, no, I take it to the world. So my approach is always different. So I live here on purpose. I love Austin. It's very supportive. It's cool. It's a great community. I've lived a couple other places like Atlanta, which is a music city, LA, and I purposely moved back to Austin because I just like the vibe, the energy. And then you can go anywhere, and like pre-COVID, right? You could go anywhere, and there would be live music. You could have art. You could have the energy of an artist, and not people not look at you crazy, like whoa, like you're different. What's that about? You have a different haircut. Your style is different, and so it just allows you to be who you are, and that really influenced me. That allowed me to grow. It incubated me as an artist, so that I could be who I am.
That's really, really interesting and really, really great to hear, because I think, especially in folk music or, you know, maybe acoustic music or singer-songwriter music, where identity is so, so important, where you live and your surroundings and how that influences you and how you feel and the way that you make music is also incredibly important. So your comments there are really beautiful. So yeah, I am quite interested to know about your own influences. Your music, as we've discussed, is really eclectic. It's very different. It straddles all genres, and I think it's really, really darn cool. I'm interested in who inspired you. Who were the musicians? Well, Willie Nelson, of course, great. Him and Casey Musgraves have collaborated together. They've done like stuff together. But who were the musicians and bands that you grew up listening to? What artists do you admire? Why? Tell us.
Scarface and Ben Harper. I know Scarface. Well, I'll say Scarface, Ben Harper, and old school country musicians. My tastes were eclectic. I don't know why people hate on Nickelback, but I'm like, I like Nickelback. When they were pop, I don't get it. Like, I think it's wrong. You can't publicly say you like Nickelback. It was cool to me. So anyway, coming from a hip hop background, those are my roots. It's about storytelling. I'm saying, like, when you were talking about being from the Aberdeenshire, and when you spoke about it, I was just like, dude, you sound like you sound like a rapper talking about, like, hey, I'm from North Houston, blah blah blah, like, because there's that pride, like the pride just comes out, and it was cool. But and it's about that pride, that community, that culture was inside of me, what comes out. So hip hop storytellers influenced me. Ben Harper, because it was him and his Ben Harper, Jack Johnson, because it's like just them and their guitar. So they influenced me early on. Like when I was in the formative stage, like what would my sound be like? Wyclef, like multi-talented artists like Wyclef from the Fugees, because they were doing things different. Lauryn Hill, yeah, Taylor Swift. Why Taylor Swift? I like how she changed genres. See, limitations are everywhere, and she was in country, and I mean, that's a lane, and she had peaked in it, and then she decided she wanted more, so she changed. Like people don't even connect her to the country anymore. So I feel like she did what I do.
But her latest album sounds more acoustic, folky. You know what? Her latest album is the favorite one that I love all of them, absolutely all of them. Like 1989, I love that. I love Red.
Swifties.
I just love all of her stuff. But I think this latest one is the one that I've identified most with as a young adult. When I was like 13, I listened to her, but life was pretty different then. and now, a lot of the stuff is more dark and more real. And you know what? Anyone that knocks Taylor Swift, I'm going to find you and back you down. But yeah, no,
a friend of mine, if we go off on a tangent for a second, a friend of mine, it's so random. I was at the Grammys and I met a guy, and then we connected and blah blah blah. And he emails me out the blue. I was performing at ACL. It was Austin City Limits, big festival. I was actually performing both weekends, and he texts me out the blue. He's like, "Hey, Saul Paul, you're in Texas, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Man, well, I got an opportunity. It's kind of close to you. It's in Dallas. Dallas is like 3 hours from here." And he's like, "I got some VIP Taylor Swift tickets, whatever, whatever. Like, they gave them to me. I can't go. You're in Texas. I'm in New York right now. If you want them, I'll give them to you." And being an adventurous artist, like, I got a show the next day. Like, he tells me this probably on Thursday. The tickets are for Friday, and I got a show on Saturday. And I left, actually, me and Bianca, we went to the Taylor Swift concert. It made no sense to go. I should have been like, I got a show tomorrow. But I'm like, you only live once. So I'll go. It's in a big, huge football stadium, Dallas Cowboys, I don't know, 80,000. It was a crazy experience. It was amazing. I really respected the artistry and how it was brought to life. It inspired me so much that my show elevated after I came back. I did my ACL show, and after then I was like, I'm never going back. I'm going to do this. And my shows have even elevated since then because
we should do a Taylor Swift cover for your week. That is, this is already your week, but y'all aren't, remember, that is a great idea. And if you're watching it right now and you've already seen the Taylor Swift cover that we end up doing, then you're behind the scenes. You went back in time.
You saw it when it happened. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that'd be such a cool idea. I'll get in touch with you on that later on.
I love it. Let's make it happen.
You've done a lot. I mean, you've traveled throughout the world, sharing your music, but promoting, your social advocacy for young people. And I think with your background, you're a great person to do that as well. You've shared your music and your experiences at TEDx Talks, America's Got Talent, the Kennedy Center, and you've also played for the NFL, which is pretty cool. What other experiences or performances have been your favorite?
When I went to France, I went to Cannes. They jacked me all up. I still don't know if it's Cannes or Cannes. Like,
I don't know either.
Right, there's like no official way. Like, I was there and people like lead with, you can say it either way. Like, I just want to know the right answer. But I got to go to Cannes. That was a cool experience. Or France in general. And then I went to Paris, and it was crazy to see how the Parisians, how France had influenced New York City. Because I was like, it felt like I was in New York for a second. And I'm like, whoa, I get it. Like, they immigrated, and then they influenced how New York is. So anyway, France was cool. And playing in Jerusalem.
Wow.
That was Israel. That was cool, and it was cool for multiple reasons. One reason was because playing on the rooftop in Israel, that was amazing. But I floated in the Dead Sea, and that was cool because did you know? I didn't know until I got there. Everyone floats in the Dead Sea because the saltwater content. Yeah, and the thing about that is I've never floated before. I brag. I tell myself it's because I don't have any body fat, so I can't float. I don't know how to float. I get in the pool and I just sink. So it was the first time I just floated. So Jerusalem was cool. ACL was top notch. I like to shout them out. They took I played a bunch of festivals. You've played a bunch of festivals. All festivals are not created equal how they treat the artist, but at ACL it didn't matter. I think I played the same weekend that Paul McCartney was there. So Paul McCartney, yeah, he's headlining, right? He's doing this thing, and it was cool. Saul Paul, Paul McCartney. There was no difference, the way that they show love. So that was a cool experience. And often my knee-jerk answer is my last show is my most favorite show because I just love what I do. But those are some standouts.
Oh wow, that is wonderful. So just what's your plans for the future going forward? When we can do more live stuff again? Is there going to be another album that you might work on over lockdown? What's your plans for the future?
That's a good question. My goal is to take this Be the Change album, push it to the limits. We had a song that was added to radio, I Am Enough. The hard part about quarantine, the releasing the album part is not challenging to me. It's because I create the music, I write, I produce, so I'm the the machine, but shooting videos during quarantine,
Yeah.
that's challenging. Because I'm like, I need some, like, the ideas to be able to shoot dynamic, creative, innovative music videos during quarantine. So hopefully I'll get to bring some of the songs to life via video. We have the Be the Change Challenge. People should check that out, btckids.live, btckids.live. The Be the Change Challenge is a challenge where, like, somebody's like, you sign up, you commit to say, hey, I'm gonna do 30 acts of kindness. I'm gonna do it's a 30-day challenge. Each day I'll do an act of kindness. And like, you get emails, we send it to you, you get reminded, we say certain ones, we highlight it. You know, we're trying to create a movement of do-gooders across the world. It's been cool because a lot of the radio stations that are playing my songs, like, they just gravitated toward it. And they were like, you know what, we like this, we're gonna partner. And so they're promoting it and putting it out. People are signing up. A gentleman from Switzerland reached out to me. He was like, I want to interview you about this. We interviewed. I did a freestyle. He freestyled. Now we're working on a song together. So it's cool and it's inspiring good. So yeah.
That is called Be the Change Challenge, and it's btckids.com.
No, .live.
.live.
Live.
btckids.live.
Yeah, I probably should start saying www.btckids.live. Yeah.
Amazing. You know what? I want to take part in that. That would be well fun.
Yeah, we went international again. That's how easy it is. Yeah.
If you could give your younger self some stellar advice that you wish you knew when you were younger, what would it be?
Stay focused and don't worry about fitting in. They'll see soon enough. Yeah.
That is amazing.
I'm gonna practice that one because that's what I told my old self, and I was like, I get to be on the other side of it now. Like, yeah, that's what I would tell young self. You know, we spend so much time trying to fit in. Like myself, I went to prison. That was part of my story, right? Like my mom dies, my grandmother adopts me, she raises me, but I grew up in a bad environment, and I always wanted to fit in. So even when I was different, it was like, yeah, I do well at school, but my friends don't. I want to fit in, so I want to be like them. I don't want to make them feel bad, so I'll dumb down what I do so I fit. It's a common thing that people deal with all the time. Like we diminish our light so that we can fit with those around us. I did that, and you know, ended up making bad choices, got in some bad situations. It was only because I was allowing myself to try to fit in. So I would tell younger self, like, don't worry about it. Before it's over, they'll try to get like you. Stop trying to be like them.
That is really, really great advice. And I mean, you're such an incredible artist, but also, I mean, I would come to your gig, but I would like you to life coach me. Like, that would be really cool too. Like, you know, I think
you're awesome. This is my interview. Like I was telling you already, though, I think you're awesome. Like, you have a unique gift that's powerful. If I told my, like, I don't know, I would tell younger self, like, trust the gift. Like, yeah, trust the gift. Like, the gift makes room. Like, have you ever experienced that before? Like, have you, as an artist, have you ever been in a situation where it's not a great setup, so they're like, da-da-da, you go up and you're performing. It might be different. Maybe you can relate. Because if it's not a listening situation, then, like, if you're at a bar or you're playing somewhere else or the last artist left and you come on, and so nobody's paying attention, and even though you're starting, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like, I'm playing and they're still talking. And, like, okay, the dude like did the intro and nobody's paying attention. And it's like, you try to get attention until you, like, you start, and then people quiet down and they turn, they look, and then you captivate them for your whole set, and then you leave. And it was like, see, that was a gift. Like, it snatched attention. And when we as artists start to realize, I would tell my younger self, like, trust the gift. Like, it's like superhero movies. Iron Man can do all this other stuff. It's like, but once you start putting out the web slingers, or once the Incredible Hulk owns, like, you know what, I'm about to just go Hulk mode. Then
no, that's really great advice. I mean, you know what, I don't supposed to be answering these questions, but I think one of the big things I would say is to not compare yourself to other people. Don't compare what you have to other people, but also don't compare your achievements to other people, because you don't know, you know, the setup that they had. They don't know what, you know, like if you just focus on yourself. And God, I wish I knew that more when I was like 17, 18. And I wish that I really have to remind myself, being like, no, focus on yourself. Don't worry what other people are doing. Do you. Like, you do you. And I think
that's what I was, basically that. Focus on yourself and do you.
Well, it has been an absolute delight chatting to you, Saul Paul. People can find your music everywhere. You're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I mean, we can find you everywhere.
They just look up what's on this hat. They'll find me. Like,
that is a cool hat.
Wherever you go, just look up Saul Paul and I'll be there. Yeah,
very easy to find. So yeah, thank you so much for talking to me. You are our Global Music Match Week 5 Focus Artist.
Iona Fyfe.
Okay, so Saul Paul's new album, Be the Change, was released in September 2020 and is available from all online distributors. For more information, please visit Saul Paul's official website, www.saulpaul.com. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.